Xavier Griffin. Zay's doing a really good job. He's it's hard to play the linebacker position, and we're asking him to do multiple things in that room. He has value as a pass rusher. He did that for most of his high school career. And then what was really cool is his senior year, he got to play, as a stack backer and took his game really to another level. And so Chuck Morrell's done a fantastic job with him. I came in here, whatever it was, 6 a.m. this morning, and they're meeting, one-on-one, spending time. So we're working to get him ready. I think he's going to have a role for us this year. He's doing a really nice job. You said like a weight, ideal weight. I think he's like maybe 223, 224 right now. We'd love for him to be north of 225. And if he's at north of 225, we feel pretty good about that.
How would you assess the inside linebacker competition right now?
I think those guys are doing a really good job. I think I've told you guys this before. Chuck Morrell does a fantastic job of just the relentless detail that it takes to play that position. Spends time with those guys year round, meets with them year round, and gets guys ready to go, whether it's a freshman or a transfer portal guy. So we've got both are good examples. You got Xavier Griffin, right, coming in. You've got Caleb Woodson, right, and both those guys have done a really good job to put themselves in position to play. I'm impressed with that group. I mean, I think Luke Metz has taken his game to another level. I think you see a lot from Abdul Sanders and QB Reese, and Caden Jones is doing some nice things, Duke Johnson. So those guys are all going to have a role for us. It's just kind of at some point, right, you got to say, okay, here's the two deep. And let those guys ride and see what happens in games. But it's a little bit easier now when you're playing with a D-line up front that holds their gap responsibility, does their job at a much higher level. You see those guys starting to play with more confidence.
There's a lot of rotation at that position.
We always rotate a little bit. I would love to have. I think once you get going, right, you kind of have four main guys that you see mainly in the rotation, and then some auxiliary positions that you may see from a couple of guys as well mixed in there. But typically we've always had 3 or 4 main backers that to begin the season are going to take the majority of the snaps.
What do you think? What can you tell us about Steve Bola-Boomwa?
What?
On the defensive line, like his progress?
Steve?
Bola-Boomwa?
Yeah. I think, Steve has a pretty unique skill set. His strength, athleticism, the physicality that he can play the game with, he brings a lot to the table, especially, when you think about big personnel packages. Asking an offensive lineman to go one-on-one with him that's a hard ask, And so I think he's doing a nice job of being able to play the fundamentals of the position. I think he's got to continue to take steps in the right direction of just knowing what to do consistently, and that ultimately will define how many snaps he takes and in what situations.
Kind of in that same vein, do you have a rotation plan for the interior of the defensive line? Do you want 2 starters? And kind of, what does that look like in terms of, the amount of pieces?
We've always rotated guys in the defensive line. You want to keep guys fresh, as the game's going on, and so you gotta be mindful of rotating them early. I think we have some guys right now that we feel confident that can go in the rotation. You love to have what you would call multiple starter level players, right? That you feel like when the 1s and the 2s go in, there's not much of a drop off. In the past, certainly that's been the case, but we definitely have taken a step in the right direction there.
What have you seen from Gyra over these 2 weeks, and what do you see the next few weeks?
Gyra is he's one of the most instinctive playmakers I've ever seen coming out of high school. Very physical. He's got phenomenal tracking of the ball. His blitz IQ and awareness is really high, and so he can create production, out of that package as well. But really for him, it's about putting the whole thing together. Gyra's going to play for us, but how much does he play for us early in the season, and in what situations, right? Those are the question marks that we've really kind of challenged him of, like, can you put everything together that we can throw you out there on any given down? And he's still working towards that. We're pretty close. Yeah. We're in a pretty good spot there in terms of knowing what we're going to get out of guys. You know, we've got a scrimmage here on Thursday, and then we start kind of turning our attention right to getting into some teamwork, but some more personnel groupings that we've got to get ready for against our offense. And then you start moving into scout work and all that. And so I told the guys, this is a really big week. Decisions are going to be made in my mind about who takes the field against East Carolina based off of what you do this week. And I tell the guys, I'm a human stock market, right? You know what I mean? Like, stock is up, stock is down, but there's a line that I'm going to draw of guys that we trust to go do their job at a high level, that I feel like we can go put in the first game pretty much regardless of the situation or time on the clock or score or any of that kind of stuff. And so we'll ride with those guys. Doesn't mean that can't change as the season goes on. Doesn't mean that we can't add pieces to the puzzle as the season goes on, which we most certainly are going to have to do. But coming out of this Thursday, I have a pretty good idea of who we're going to be and who we're going to ride with.
Coach Ford talked after the scrimmage, giving credit to your D-line, and then Coach Grubb yesterday said he wasn't fully satisfied with the offensive line. How do you evaluate your D-line, especially through the lens of going against a group that's developing?
Yeah, I think Adrian Clem's doing a really nice job with that group. There's a physicality that they are playing with, and I think between them and the tight end room, the running backs and some of the young guys in that room as well are doing a good job of setting the tone. And so there's some things that they're bringing to the table that present challenges for us. So it's really good to be able to see some of those things. Our offense has a lot that they can do and a lot of things that they go to. And so we're challenged in a number of ways schematically as well. So, I feel like we're seeing good looks and we're seeing some things that put us in tough situations that we got to go find a way to execute and win. But I think, from our defensive line standpoint, we do have a little bit more experience in that room right now. And I think we've got some maturity in that room that tends to be showing up. The ability to line up and play some base defense has not really been something that I've had in my tool bag, for the last couple of years, right, on a consistent basis, right? We've kind of had to move and stem and all that stuff, and I've talked to you guys about that already before. I do think, we're in a better position right now to line up and play base technique along with a number of other things that we're going to do. So, one thing that I thought was really impressive, and the thing that I was most excited about from the scrimmage was just the energy from our sideline. We had almost a little bit of a rotation when you came off the field. If you had played multiple snaps, go to the coolers for a minute, sit down, try to lower your body temperature. Everybody else, right, you're on the juice squad. So I thought our guys did a really good job of bringing energy early. They kept it throughout the scrimmage and even in the finish. And that was something that I think I mentioned to you guys maybe last Tuesday. We had that period at the end of practice where we didn't really do a good job of responding to adversity in a goal line period. And then we came back out and didn't address it well enough on the field. And that felt eerily similar to some experiences that we had in the past, right? And so we made sure, right, like, hey guys, don't worry about install, don't worry about the next walkthrough, whatever. Let's make sure we address this. And those guys did a phenomenal job of taking it and running with it. And then they've been the exact same way every day we've come out to practice. So the energy, the passion that they're creating for themselves right now always is the marking and a making of a good defense. And to me, that's as good as it's been.
You got any buy low candidates on your defense?
I'm sorry?
You got any buy low stock candidates on your defense?
Oh, I said I use the stock market term very loosely. All right, I'm a football coach, so I don't know what buy low means.
Low, you get them for low value, they explode up.
Oh, there you go. Great. All right, you learn something new every day. Okay. I think yes. I think we've got some guys that are doing a really good job. I mean, nowadays, right? There's a certain level of value, right, that you have to play this game with, that you have to build a roster with, right? You got to play a little bit. I love the movie Moneyball. It's one of my favorite movies, and you got to play a little bit of Moneyball, right? And so you got to create value and depth with some really good pieces of the puzzle. And I think that always comes down to development. And that's the one thing that, I think we do an elite job here. From our athletic director all the way down, we provide great resources. We provide great opportunities to develop. And so I think we're doing, a nice job there. Thanks, guys. Roll Tide.